All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. The book we're looking at today is The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. And look, I want to bypass the usual pleasantries here because we need to immediately target a very specific, honestly, very common false belief. It's this idea that you simply don't need a checklist because, hey, your judgment is what you're paid for, right? You probably think your hard-earned expertise is more than enough to handle the complexity of your daily work. But this book, it's all about exposing the hidden wound in expert pride.
So I want to ask you this directly and be honest with yourself. Name the step you trust yourself to remember. Now name the last time pressure erased it. Visceral, isn't it? We all kind of use our memory as this badge of honor. And when we mess up, we brush it off. We call those misses pressure or, just bad luck. But Atul Gawande challenges that deeply. Those misses, they aren't just bad luck.
Here's the truth. Expert pride becomes a memory bottleneck. Consider this a sharp reality slap. We are actively protecting a system flaw. You knew the step, you valued the step, but you still skipped the whole thing. Why? Because you insisted on holding it all in your head rather than just building a simple system to protect it. Section 1. Judgment is not a storage. Look, your intelligence is undeniable. Your nuanced judgment is exactly why people trust you in high-stakes environments. But we really need to separate failure into two distinct buckets here. First, we have errors of ignorance. That's where you simply do not know the answer. Fair enough. But then we have errors of ineptitude, where you know exactly what to do, but you fail to actually use what you know. This second kind, oof, that one hurts, because it attacks your self-image as an expert. The expert defends nuance, sure, but then completely loses the basics. The absolute core of this is summarized perfectly by this exact quote from Atul Gawande. The volume and complexity of what we know has exceeded our individual ability to deliver its benefits correctly, safely, or reliably. Just let the weight of that paradox land for a second. Knowledge has both saved us and burdened us. Our individual recall, no matter how good we are, simply cannot keep up with modern complexity. Which brings us right into a corner. Choose now. Trust your judgment when the stakes rise, or surrender to protocol. I know, this feels like a total trap, doesn't it? Your inner saboteur immediately throws its defenses up when presented with this false dilemma. Let's look at option 1, trust judgment. Man, it sounds alive, adults, and honorable. You are the expert after all. But then, the pressure of high-stakes reality just crashes in. The phone rings, the client changes a line, the patient bleeds. And then there's option 2, surrender to protocol, which honestly feels rigid. It feels like turning a brilliant creative professional into a mindless robot. But here is the cold slap resolution for you. Both options are the exact same mistake. They both wrongly treat the checklist as some sort of rival to your judgment. It is not a rival. It's a guardrail for the exact moment when your judgment gets inevitably overloaded. Section 2, protocol protects your craft. Let's shift our lens for a minute from a personal failing to this concept of structural load. Think of it like architecture. The mind is not weak, it is overassigned. Like a steel beam carrying way too much load. It breaks because the load concentrates where the design pretended the strength was infinite. You shouldn't ask your mind to hold up the entire building. Offloading the low-level stuff allows your high-level skill to actually move higher. The hand checks the rails while the mind watches the storm. I absolutely love this verbatim quote from this book. Discipline is something we have to work at. A checklist is not some public downgrade of your skills, not at all. It's a discipline practice. It's a safeguard that protects you against totally preventable humiliation. Handoffs, fatigue, risk, speed, pride, and noise. This is what complex work is actually built from on a daily basis. Known steps just vanish when no one designs for their survival against these 6 specific forces. A checklist is just a small, intentional act of design against all of them. Section 3, the social point of failure. You know, the most dangerous missing step isn't always an action. Very often, it's a missing voice due to status pressures in the room. People get intimidated. This brings us to a really core cognitive upgrade from this book, the pause point. It's a designed, strategic hinge where names, risks, and next moves must be said aloud to literally force reality into the room. It redistributes authority away from solo memory right to the exact moment where failure becomes horribly expensive. Section 4, designing the pause point. If we're going to actually use this in real life, we need to cleanly separate a bad checklist from a good one. A bad checklist is vague, It's a prison, it tries to control every little thing, and turns the user into basically office furniture. That's just bureaucratic busywork. But a good checklist? It's brief, it's precise, and it protects the critical few. It's placed at the exact right pause point. It is designed with true consequences. And to establish exactly what that looks like, here is an exact quote from Atul Gawande. Good checklists are precise. A good list gives the human mind a clean floor and leaves the really hard calls to the expert. It removes the noise so your intelligence can actually shine when it's needed the most. So I really want to challenge you right now. What known step is your work still treating as optional? Where does your system still depend entirely on everyone just having their absolute best day? I want you to locate that exact gap in your own workflow. Section 5. Skill needs rails. All right, it's time to permanently upgrade your mental model. To definitively prove that this is about protecting your intelligence, not replacing it, read this verbatim quote from this book with me. A checklist cannot fly a plane. It's a scaffold. It supports the expert. It is not and never will be a substitute for your brilliance. Let's rapidly fire off these final philosophical truths. Stop worshiping memory. Stop confusing improvisation with care. And please stop treating reminders as insults. A serious person doesn't fear a simple tool. A serious person fears preventable harm. Here are your permanent action directives. I want you to execute this before tomorrow to lock in the behavior. Step 1. Write a 6-item stop checklist for one recurring high-stakes task. Step 2. Test it once. Step 3. Open the next task and mark the single pause point before action.
300 seconds is literally all it takes to build this architecture.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. The absolute core takeaway from this book is this: skill needs rails. Don't wait for a failure big enough to humble you. Borrow humility early and install it into the work itself. So ask yourself, before your next high-stakes moment, are you relying on a system designed to succeed, or are you just hoping your memory doesn't fail you this time?